today's conclusion. Don't drink and drive, children. Whoa. We don't have any weed. Price of weed has gone over the fucking roof. Insane out here. But we got Chagoponga. A little bit left from Chagoponga. A little bit left from Brazil. Which is a DMT derivative. And I'll show you how to smoke it. Yeah. You get your pipe, we'll clean it. Oh yeah. And see, that's what happens when you have no weed. Shit hits the fan. Literally. Yeah. But we got Chagoponga from the Locteris Cavernera, whole leaves, Peru. 250 grams, botanical specimen, not for human consumption. Really? Are you guys sure about that? I would think not. Dad said, man, if you just stop doing so many drugs, you'd probably make some music. How can you make music if you're not doing drugs? You know, what the fuck is this world coming to where you can't use drugs to make music and music to make drugs, man? Right, Mom? Anyways, here's the Chagoponga. Not so finely cut, but sufficiently. Now this wonderful little herb has the direct and rapid effect of immediately lowering your heart rate, and if you smoke enough of it, you see some pretty nice little colored lights. Kind of makes me want to sleep, but gives my mom insomnia, so it doesn't work the same for everybody. However, after today's episode, I think it's the least we can do. Mom just left to go see John D. Pumice, and let me try to digest what's going on here for you guys in the world watching my reality show. First of all, there's 3 children involved, and our job is to bring them up as best as we know how. There are drugs involved, obviously. There is dysfunction involved, which has nothing to do with drugs. The only one that doesn't use drugs here is my sister, and she's the one that is most flaked out, as you can see in the video. And she's flaked out because she doesn't know how to work. She doesn't really know how to deal with family life. She goes off with her boyfriend, drinks, comes back home, sleeps and watches TV. So there's no sense of responsibility going on there. The responsible ones are my mother and I. My mother to feed, clothe, and make sure the children get to school. Me to make sure that this has a budget to work with. The budget is the Social Security. And before I use a sacred substance, the sacred plant, the power plant, I always say a little thanks to Lord Shiva for making it available to us, because you give thanks before you eat, and you give thanks before you use medicine. That's the way of medicine. Om Namo Shivaya. Each pipeful is a bowlful, which serves to remind us of the bowl of Dagda. Dagda was the lord of the Celts that got chopped up into little pieces, thrown into a bowl, mixed in with some herbs and brought back to life, which is a series and all these things. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the family. So the situation is as follows. My sister just walked out with the kids after a huge shouting match with my mom, where I responsibilized both of them because both of them lost their cool, and the name of the game is don't get angry, get even. Wow. Now this shit. Ooh. Deeply. Supposedly, folks that smoke this stuff, DMT, say they see little elves and stuff. I actually just get really calm. And my mind gets really clear. So I use it sparingly. I use it in emergency situations only, and I consider this an emergency situation. So. It is not the first time my sister has gone out on a binge of getting out of the house. In fact, she hasn't wanted to live here for many years, but she doesn't see a solution to her life, so she feels forced to live here where she finds protection, food, shelter, all the basics. She has never, as I have been, out in the streets without food and shelter and all the necessities. So she doesn't know that such life can be had and can be procured, and she doesn't have the sufficient self-esteem to do it. She'll be back in about a week with the kids all freaked out after vacations, maybe before, maybe 2 or 3 days. The basic issue will not be resolved. The basic issue is that she doesn't take care of the house, that she doesn't take care of mom, that she doesn't take care of her kids, that she doesn't take care of herself. That's what the scene was all about. The trigger was a certain newspaper that mom wanted to have me take.
No. Your festival.
The trigger was my medieval festival, where I would invite Benito Castro to come over and be the master of ceremonies. And there's a newspaper, there's a magazine with some news about our neighbor, Eugenia Gascon, who's a famous actress, semi-famous actress. And we were going to take that to our other neighbor who is going to be financing the festival if everything goes well. The magazine was torn, broken, and scratched with pornographic images on the little people there. And mom went off the rocker because the responsible party, in this case Rassastali, did not acknowledge that she did the crime, so she lied about it. And mom got upset with Rassastali, and of course, when mom shouted at Rassastali, Renata got into the fight, and that's when the real fight began, and the result of it we see now. Now, there's a very interesting antecedent, how do you say those things? Which is, there's no weed. So mom hasn't smoked for a week, and my sister is accusing mom of being on edge because she hasn't smoked, which is true, by the way. She doesn't generally get this upset. She generally makes things more evenly when she's smoking. But it doesn't change the fact that the house is a mess. Sizzy is never home. She's not responsible for herself, her kids, or her mother. Her mother is a senior citizen that is living off of my Social Security, and that there is no help, no real help in the house. So those are the issues. The fight was about those issues. My sister does not understand that still, because she's still thinking it's about the fucking magazine, which is not. She's actually thinking it's about the weed, which is also not about that. It's about the fact that she's not responsible for herself, her children, or her life. Which I tried to tell her in the garden, but she was not in a listening mood, and mom and sis are very similar in that way. They don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear it. They've already made up their minds, they don't want to hear none of the facts, right? Mom? So, that's kind of the background of this story. Now, why am I putting this on YouTube and on this live reality show? Principally with the effort of helping everybody involved. You see, I have a theory, and it may just be a theory, I may be totally insane. But I believe there's something called a vox populi, a kind of collective voice And that the internet, YouTube, Facebook, all the social medias, can tap into that collective consciousness on a very basic level, whereas the people that need most help will get it thanks to the fact that they're being opened and allowing themselves to be exposed. Now, what is help, and what type of help do we need? In this case, the help is for a person that uses no drugs. It's my sister we're talking about. She uses no drugs, but she doesn't really have a kind of handle on her own life, and she hasn't really tried to see the situation clearly. So in making this tape, if she can see it, I may be able to show it to her so that she sees it. I don't know. It's an experiment. It's an experiment. Oh God. My guinea pigs. I may be wrong. But what else is there to do? That's the other question. What else can you do in a situation like this? First of all, this video is for myself. I can look at it. I can see where my mind is right now, and it's all mind involved. It's all mind issues. Mind. At the highest levels of reality, none of this is real. This is all an illusion of the collective consciousness called mind, as the Vedas have exposed to us over and over. But even if it's an illusion, even if it's just a fantasy of the collective consciousness, the elements in the fantasy are real to the fantasy itself. So you can't really stop them from taking in their proper place. Now, what is the proper place of each thing? Well, in this case, Sissy needs to get a job. She needs to bring in income to the house instead of taking out income of the house. And it seems so utterly ridiculously ineffective in a way. But it really boils down to that. It boils down to, is there milk or isn't there milk in the refrigerator? Is the house clean or isn't it clean? Are the children going to school? Are they learning something? Are their lives being uplifted or destroyed by the events occurring around them? And that's the issue, that's the point. The point is to try to make them uplift, not crunch. Now, that brings us to another interesting subject, which is the duality of human beings. No matter how good a person is, no matter how benevolent the intentions of the person are, the mere fact that it's a human being is going to make that person a dual being, which has a self-interest and a collective interest. The self-interest is what we commonly call evil. Doing for others is what we commonly call good. And here I have to refer to the Bible because it's the most clear indicator of that. It says, do unto others as you'd like others to do unto you. Nobody can accuse my mother of doing bad for her loved ones. Not my sister, not I, nobody. Because her intentions are good. Now, the Hare Krishnas, Sissy accuses mom of being insincere or fake. In mom's case, that's a spiritual indictment. And Sissy is not in a place to do that legitimately. I suspect my own things in that matter, but they're not important because I'm not the judge. The judge is God. By not being I the judge, I liberate myself from the judgment or even the thought of the insincerity of mom's relationship to God. And I can focus in that case to my own relationship to God, which is definitely one of conflict. Why conflict? Because although I see the beauty in the creation of God and the beauty of redemption from God, I fail to see the necessity for the duality that causes people to be in hell by their own choice. Is that a rebellious attitude towards God? Yes, it is. Does that put me in a Luciferic point of view? Mayhaps. Perhaps. I was told by one of my witchy friends that my guardian angel was Lucifer. I do not doubt such a thing, because I have occasionally thought of it myself. So, where does that put me with Krishna? Well, the beauty about the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita is that Krishna absorbs both Lucifer, Christ, Jehovah within its own ethos, or Christians would say mythology. No such thing as mythology, folks. Mythology does not exist. All the gods are real. Now, where was I born? I was born in Mexico, Tenochtitlan. So what gods should I be worshipping or giving honor to? The gods of my people, my place of birth. Is that what Christ meant when he said, be true to your God? And if that's the case, my God is a serpent. Quetzalcoatl. Does that mean that I have to go and make human sacrifices on top of the pyramid? Makes no sense, does it? Because the message of the Christian faith is sufficiently positive to prevent us from doing that, but perhaps that's the trap. Perhaps that's the key to trying to understand the situation. Because the Christian faith has not prevented the abuse of the Christian faith to enslave mankind in a system of wealth and slavery and all that stuff. So, who do we worship? Who do we pay homage to? What God is worthy of us as human beings when there's so many from to choose? Nancy, our mother, as this, what's his name? This Christian theologian that makes the drawings, John Clapper, whatever. I'll figure it out and I'll put it in there, the subtitle. In fact, I may send him this video. He accuses Quetzalcoatl of being the great whore of Babylon. False religion. But she's our mother. The earth. So how can loving our mother be a false religion? No matter how terrible our mother may be. The monster mom, as he calls it. And if we don't see the goddess in our own mother, where do we see her? Where is she? If we cannot see the destroyer and creator in our own mother, we can't see it, can we? Which leaves the Father. Now the Church wants us to worship the Father and the Son. At the expense of
Estoy invitando un café a Fausto. Que
Sí, porque está lloviendo. Te dije, Fausto.
Pero voy poco a poco.
Is the Holy Spirit the mother?
Que esto has to be cut.
I'll handle the kitchen later, Mom. I'll cut the pineapple. Your fingers can't do it.
Dropping yak.
I'll cut the pineapple. Can I smoke a pipe before I do that? You're not in a hurry, though.
I'm offering house to a cup of coffee.
Then you put the water. God, this is really good, Ma. I can't get up, you know. I don't think my legs would support me. Was soll das sein, Mutti? Lass mich einsam.
Es que les dijo que no me pelaran, que no se despidieran de mí, que no me hablaran. Which is really very unfair because there's nothing to do, really.
No, but she's focusing on the issue so that, yeah.
No, that's the way she plays it.
That's the way she plays it. Oh, yeah. So, what to do? What to do? Mom, I just lost my kids. They just left the house, you know. It's kind of a sad moment, ain't it? They really were crying a lot. I'm glad I didn't cry. If I would have cried with them, it would have made it worse, not better. What I told my niece was the right thing. I said, when everybody goes nuts, keep your head about it. When everybody's right, when everybody's okay, then you can go nuts. Just right advice.
No tocar nada. Respeten.
So Aleister Crowley advises us that we should be our own gods.
Estas son las sordomudeces.
I have a hard time with that myself.
Voy a volver porque la casa es de mis hijos y aquí tienen sus cosas. Arriba. No tocar nada. Respeten.
Good reason to move it all around, eh?
I'm looking for towels. She took all the towels.
How can she ask for respect if she doesn't give it?
I'm gonna go up and watch my movies and everything.
More importantly, what can we do to help her? Because she's really fucked up.
Thank you.
She's been trying to help her for 5 or 6 years. It ain't working. God, I'm so glad I kept my cool about myself. I was this close to getting angry, you know. And I held it all in. If I would have gotten shouty and Kaczmarczyki, it wouldn't work at all. It would have been worse.
It wasn't really your story.
No, I just pay for everything. I just live here, right?
You didn't cause trouble.
I just got one thing very clear though. We need to get some weed in the house. Imperative to get some medicine to you. Sí te baja un poco los nervios, pero no pone la chingadera. Es el pedo. ¿La ayahuasca? A mí me estaba dando taquicardia y se me bajó, pero así, pum, con el primer tufín, el primer jalón. It's really good though. It's really, really nice. Goes down smooth. What an amazing thing is a camera, no? A synthetic third eye. Or a one-eyed Dajjal. Depends on how you look at it. Or maybe both. Maybe both. Fausto, pásale, no te quedes ahí en el frío.
Es más pasto el zapato.
Ah.
¿El agua?
Déjame.
Pero te hice un café a Fausto.
No, pues llegas.
Lo tengo ahí sentado castigado.
No creo que me puedo levantar, ma. Me tumbó la ayahuasca. Así como, uy. Ah, ahí está Alex. Excuse me, dear YouTube.